Mm-hmm.
Pete Buttigieg has launched his own podcast.
Oh God!
So
we needed one more. Here's my joke about Pete Buttigieg was he's the Gray Davis of Pete Wilson's. Woo!
Now you gotta explain the joke.
Good God. I know. That's all right. It's two of the most boring governors of California in the history of the world. One's a Republican, one's a Democrat. Who can tell anymore? Can you tell the difference? You know. Oh my God. Pete, you know, I was like, people said, oh, you don't like him, you must be homophobic. I said, no, he can be straight. He's still an asshole. You know, I'm sorry, man. I'm a fucking guy taking money in the wine cave. Don't take money in the wine cave, Pete. It looks bad. It looks bad for the 99%. They don't want to get behind you.
Clay, how do you feel when you see? Because you know, podcasts at first was something that was very popular in our comedy community, and it was for us another way for us to express comedy and another stream of revenue for us, because quite honestly, comedians don't have a union and we don't get properly compensated most of the time. So when you see everybody and their mama has a podcast now, you know, like, what do you think when you see someone like this? Would you ever listen to Pete Buttigieg's podcast?
Absolutely not. First of all, I don't even, the last name alone doesn't attract me to want to support this man. But outside of that, it's like when you look at podcasts, everybody, I remember when podcasts came out, I remember Byron Bowers was like, yeah, I'm about to go do this podcast. I'm like, what's a podcast? Because at the time, everything was radio show. Like, I'm going to do this person's radio show. I'm going to do that. And then podcasts came out and it's like, oh, you could do it on your own. And I think like everything, the cream always rises to the top. Like if people want to hear from you, you'll succeed. But when something seems like you're trying too hard, people are never going to support it.
Yeah, I know. And you know what? Mark made an interesting point, right? Like, because of what's happening right now. And I believe in fairness, right? So that means that everybody gets it. So that's been my brand of humor forever. And it's always been that way because I feel like I come from so many marginalized groups. I can make fun of whatever. And then someone pushed back and said, no, because you have privilege, because you have a lighter complexion. You have privilege because you can walk and you have arms. And I'm thinking people say stuff like that. You're able, which is fine. But then what I've learned is two things. People who belong to groups that are marginalized don't want to be pandered to. They say, like the joke about the blind people that I did that I posted on Instagram was because a blind person said to me after a show, you know, I heckled you. I told you I was blind and you still didn't make fun of me. And I feel like that's insulting. Like he was like, if it's really about inclusion and diversity, make fun of me too. And I said, yeah, I can, because a bunch of white bitches are going to be the ones tweeting at you, because it's not even about that anymore. But do you feel that pressure sometimes? Like, as a straight man, you can't make fun of a gay man. As you're skinny, you can't make fun of someone who's big. But it can happen in the reverse. But you can't do it, because if you do it, then you are being problematic. And that kind of unevens comedy, and it makes it suck a little bit, because the reality is that big people, gay people, straight people, white people, black people, they want to be included. They want to be in on the joke too. A lot of people do feel that that it is insulting not to include them.
Well, I roast everybody. Yeah. Go ahead, Mark.
Well, Bernie, I remember I saw Bernie. Here's the other thing I want to say about Pete Buttigieg. He's going to have a podcast where he talks about bulldozing poor people's houses. Is that the first episode? All right, because that's what he did. And he did do that. He failed the black community. He did. And so, listen, okay.
And they got a police problem. His jurisdiction also has a police problem. So let's
absolutely. Well, I think every jurisdiction has a police problem, because we've given them way too much power, and we've allowed them not to live in the neighborhoods they patrol, so they're an occupying army. Until we make them live in the neighborhoods that they patrol like we used to, it's never going to get better. Bernie Sanders, I met with Bernie Sanders. I was lucky enough to get to meet with him. And what he said to a group of us, he said, you're all cultural coastal elites. You won't understand anything I'm talking about. You're all very wealthy. And so I'm not really looking for your votes. I'm just looking for your money, which I thought was holy shit. Guy he just fucking insulted us right out of the gate. But he was right. mostly. However, he talked about coming from a red state, he was the coal miners, and he had just flown to Los Angeles. And the point that I think that is really what's wrong right now is that we do focus on our differences as opposed to focusing on what unites us. And I've always said, poverty does not care what color you are. And poverty is the greatest problem in America, you know? And if we could see that, I hate the okay, yeah, I don't like red states. I don't like that they don't know who to vote for to potentially help them. However, the other side has not helped them enough, so I get it. What have you got to lose? Indeed, what have you got to lose? When you're living in a shack, things aren't going right. So, you know, poverty should, certain principles of equality and civility and poverty should unite all of us, regardless of party, regardless of ideology. These are things that, you know, Sermon on the Mount style things that should bring us all together to try to make things better for all of us.
I know. That's so idealistic right now, because the problem is that they told poor white people that they were better than us because they were white. And so they believe that.
So LBJ said that. He said, as long as the broke white man can still think he's better than the black man, we'll be fine.